Hello everybody, this is weekly current affairs class. Okay, I have picked think around 4 to 5 articles from this week. So okay, let's get started. The first article is about corruption and prior sanction case of a divided house. Means there was a Supreme Court judgment. In this particular judgment, there was no split verdict was delivered with respect to Prevention of Corruption Act of 1968, specifically with respect to section 17A. Okay, but before going into discuss what is the judgment and all this, first let us discuss what is Prevention of Corruption Act of 1988. Okay, the first is that when in 1962 exactly, the government of India appointed K. Santanam Committee on Prevention of Corruption. This committee recommended a series of recommendations. So government enacted called Prevention of Corruption Act of 1988. So this act says that if any public servant involved in any corrupt practices, means corruption, or gaining undue advantage of his position, and also willfully conducting unethical criminal or illegal activities, so such public servant can be punished under this particular law. But the point was that when this act was enacted, the government felt that some level of protection need to be there for the government officials, so they can take a bold initiatives or bold proactive public service delivery. So that is the reason the section 19 was inserted in the 1988 itself. But this section 19 says that the prior sanction need to be taken before prosecuting any public servant. This section 19 clearly says that there should be a prior sanction before prosecuting any public servant who is in charge of public duties, public service. But the point is that it was allowed only in terms of prosecuting, not in terms of prior sanction for investigation. So in case of investigation, prior for investigation, the single directive used to be given by the executive. For example, any ministry, any authorities, there was single directive to the officials who are involved in investigation. For example, the CBI was the main agency which used to be investigate cases. Nowadays also CBI investigates the corrupt practices, the conducts of corrupt practices in public area, public services, public servants activities. But in Vineet Narain versus Union of India, Supreme Court said that the single directive is a violation of Article 14. Article 14 simply says that Article 14 says that equality before law, mean everyone is equal before the law. So single directive is violation of Article 14, and this, because of this reason, single directive is unconstitutional. And also it says that single directive means any executive directive should be coming from the particular authorities, a particular investigative agency, but not from the executive itself. For example, ministers, ministry. And after that, the government tried to insert section 6A into the Delhi Special Establishments of Police Act, which governs the CBI's conduct. Those government enacted, amended the Delhi Special Establishment Act and inserted a section 6A. This section says that there can be single directive to the CBI in any particular case. So there can be no prior sanction can be needed in case of investigation of any corrupt practices. But again, Supreme Court intervened and I delivered justice said that in Subramaniam Swamy versus CBI director case, said that 6A, section 6A, which is inserted in the Delhi Special Establishment Act, is nothing but earlier single directive. This section A also violates the Article 14, which says that equality before law, right? So if you are violating the Article 14 through indirectly by inserting any section, by amending the any particular law. So again, Supreme Court struck down the 6A in the Delhi Special Establishment Act. Now government, government tried to come up with a different motive. This government inserted 17A to the particular Corruption Act, Prevention of Corruption Act of 1988 in 2018, recently. Why this section was inserted? Government said that this section is very important for the officials, to take a bold steps. This particular section, according to government, is inserted because to protect the honest officers, protect the honest public servant, right? So who are in charge of public duties, there will not be false cases on the particular honest officers, because to protect honest officers, section 17A was inserted in 2018 in the Prevention of Corruption Act of 1988. But the issue is that now the issue is this particular 17A can be misused by the different ministries, different executive authorities. Now in the 2-judge bench, there is a Center for Public Interest Litigation. This center went to the court by saying that this particular 17A is again nothing but which order was used to be given by the executive, right? Single, what is called, that is single directive, which was struck down by the court. Again, this 17A is nothing but a single directive, which is acting a single directive, but in a more statutory way. This single directive was not mentioned in any laws, but the 17A is acting like a single directive now. So now court, picked up a case and delivered, split verdict. In the split verdict, 2-judge bench of Supreme Court said that, especially Justice Nagaratna, this 17A is nothing but again single directive, so it's unconstitutional, and it should be struck down. And again, Justice Vishwanath, other justice in this particular bench, said that 17A is not violation of Article 14. Especially 17A can be retained in the Prevention of Corruption Act. It protects the honest officers, but the directives, means the single directive which used to use earlier, this should be coming from the authorities, of the concerned authorities. For example, if CBI is investing cases, these directions, prior sanctions should be coming from CBI itself, not any other executive authorities, which was already highlighted by the earlier judgments. Now in this particular case also, which is called CPA versus Union of India case, means Center for Public Interest Litigation versus Union of India case. In this case, Supreme Court said that, so it's a split verdict. One judge said that the 17A should be struck down, and other judge say that it should not be struck down, so it can be retained, but it should be used in a very cautious way. And Justice Nagaratna also said that there is already section 19 is there for you to use for the prior sanction, but if already section 19 is there, why you are inserting 17A? So there is a blatant misutilization of the particular law, so it can be struck down. It's a unconstitutional. So we don't know what will be the, there will be again I think 3 judge bench. If 2 judge bench can deliver a proper judgment, there will be a 3 judge bench which can deliver a proper judgment in the future days. So this is with respect to Prevention of Corruption Act of 1988. So there were 2 articles with respect to this particular act. So I think I have covered everything with respect to this particular articles. Okay, let's move into the next article. Scientists chases the tough task of building graviton detector. This particular article highlights the detection of graviton. Graviton is nothing but a particle of gravitational waves. Okay, before discussing all the things mentioned in this particular article, let us discuss basics things. So we'll understand what is graviton and what all those things. There are 4 fundamental forces in the nature. One is gravity, right? And then is gravity, electromagnetic waves. Another one is electromagnetic waves, and third one is strong nuclear force, and fourth one is weak nuclear force. So gravity is nothing but the force which attracts objects towards itself. That is simple way of defining gravity. And electromagnetic waves are nothing but which propels itself to the in the space without any medium. That is called electromagnetic waves. In electromagnetic waves we have different waves. For example, gamma rays, X-ray, ultraviolet, and visible light, and also we have infrared waves, and also microwave and radio waves. These are the waves, electromagnetic waves. One of them is visible light. So article says that like visible light in the electromagnetic waves, like visible light, this particular visible has a photons, right? So visible light made of photons. I think visible light is nothing but in a wave also. But in this case says that light contains photons, right? Simple. Like that, this gravity which creates gravitational forces, gravitational waves. Gravitational waves are nothing but space ripples which are created by very mass objects like galaxies or neutron stars. These things, massive objects, when they collide or revolve, there will be gravitational waves. In these gravitational waves, how we can detect? We can detect light by seeing it. Okay, na? When these photons are there, these photons will interact with particles like pen or whatever, all these things, whatever in front of. We can see that particular objects. So through that we can understand there is a light. But gravitational waves, gravity is a weak force, weakest of all these 4 fundamental forces. So when it is the weakest, it doesn't interact with the objects around us. For example, all these buildings, materials, body. So like neutrinos, I think you heard neutrinos, right? Neutrinos also called goat particles, which does also don't interact with the materials around, particles around us. But like neutrinos, gravitational force or gravity also doesn't interact. So it is very hard to detect these gravitational waves. That is why we built a different kind of infrastructure for that, right? Called a LIGO. Right? LIGO. We have built a LIGO, a laser interferometer gravitational waves observatory. It is situated in USA, right? So there are different LIGO sub branches are there, which are in Virgo in Italy. There is one called Kagra, which is which is in Japan, and also Geo 600, which is in Germany. So there are different gravitational observatories around the world, and we are also building a gravitational observatory in India also. India we are building around, I think if I am not wrong, Pune. Around Pune we are building gravitational waves observatory. But the point is that we can observe, we can detect gravitational waves. But there is hypothetical subparticle. It means like how light contains photons. These gravitational waves. Light is a wave, right? Light is a wave. These gravitational waves are also waves. Like light contains photon. These gravitational waves contains called graviton. So this is hypothetical, not established. Hypothetical. Though scientists are now, building some, infrastructure, laboratory kind of, situation where they can detect these gravitons. Since, observing gravitational waves is also difficult, but, understanding your hypothetical particle is very difficult. So they are building so much, complicated information is there. No need for UPSC examination. Just you need to understand what is gravitational waves and what is photons, light, and all these things. This is very important for your examination point of view. And this is graviton. This is hypothetical, not established. They want to understand. If they understand graviton, if they they found graviton exists, so they can build the two areas of physics. One is normal physics, which is dominated by theory of relativity, and another one is quantum physics. So quantum physics understands the physics in a different quantum mechanics, right? But general theory of relativity understands the physics in terms of space time. So because general theory of relativity was given by the Einstein. So this is very simple information, would suffice for UPSC perspective. Now we will discuss next article. Okay, that is the importance of Pax Silica for India. Before discussing what is the importance for Pax Silica India, let us discuss what is Pax Silica. Pax Silica is nothing but it's a multilateral. Many countries are coming up with multilateral initiative, which is US led initiative. This is US proposed this, okay? US led multilateral initiative, which wants to have a robust supply chain system with respect to advanced technologies. For example, in terms of chips, silicon chips, AI, silicon chips, for example, semiconductor chips, and also very importantly, this particular initiative mainly focuses on critical minerals. Critical minerals, nothing but rare earth elements. Okay, na? The rare earth elements are so much important nowadays because we are completely relying on digital world. So much. So if you want to have a domination in the global world order, as a country, for example, let's say India or any other country, Japan, South Korea, any other country, we want to have a robust digital system, critical infrastructures like that. So these digital infrastructure is being created through rare earth elements, critical minerals, right? So these critical minerals are silicon chips. Nowadays, silicon chips, there are many countries are producing. For example, Vietnam, South Korea, Japan, USA. These are the countries which are dominating silicon chips. But critical minerals are dominated by China. China controls more than 70% of rare earth elements mining, and also produces 90% of the rare earth elements in the world. Because of that reason, it dominates the supply chain of rare earth elements or critical minerals in the world. So if you want to build all these digital infrastructure, we want to have a rare earth elements or critical minerals. Without them, we can't build a robust digital system. So since, for example, Western world, UK, all these countries, USA, Japan, developed countries, they are having so much digital infrastructure in their countries. If they don't have critical minerals, they can't build a robust governance system, digital governance structure in their countries. So because of that reason, they want to have a supply chain network. Important is that they want to pull out the supply chain system of critical minerals, AI, silicon chips, even energy also, in terms of logistic, energy, all these things. They want to pull out the supply chain system from China, so they can build alternative system for the rest of the world. That is the main idea behind Pax Silica. And what is the importance for India? Because since India is one of the major economies in the world, and it is member of two initiatives mainly. It is member of Quad. Quad, come up with the idea called, establishing their own AI, initiative, Quad initiative, Quad AI initiative, and also Japan, Australia, and India started their own initiative, supply chain resilient initiative, right? So despite being one of the largest economies and also having presence in the Quad, so India is not invited to Pax Silica. But America also clarified that they would be inviting India into the Pax Silica. So in this context, if India joined Pax Silica, what will be the implications for India? What are the challenges for India? So we'll discuss very few points. Okay, what is the importance for India with respect to Pax Silica? What is the importance? Anyone have a guess? What is the importance of Pax Silica for India? Okay. The first is we can access technology, right? Very important point is AI technologies. India wants to have a robust AI technology in its country. So we can access modern technologies, advanced technology with respect to AI, silicon, and also we want to build semiconductor industry in our country, right? So we can have access to the skills, right? We can have access to the raw materials with respect to critical minerals. So that is the importance. And also we can have a robust investments in terms of AI, semiconductor industries, right? When there is a robust supply chain, we can no longer be relying on China. So we can reducing the dependence on China. So we are now having so much of dependence on China. So what happened recently was that Trump threatened China with the tariffs, right? So China did what? China simply banned the export of rare earth elements to America, and also they had to put restriction on India to buy rare earth elements from China. If you want to buy rare earth elements from us, critical minerals from us, you have to sign a stringent licensing agreements, so that you can't export these rare earth elements and critical minerals to other countries. So because of that reason, China dominates the rare earth elements or other critical minerals market. So because of that reason, we have to reduce the dependence on one country. Not only other countries, USA, UK, they want to reduce the dependence, but as India, strategically we have to reduce the dependence on China. Because of that reason, this Pax Silica offer, if inclusion of India into the Pax Silica is very important. But it is important, but there are also challenges. What are the challenges with respect to India joining Pax Silica? One is very important, is that all the countries which are members of Pax Silica are advanced countries. UK, Australia, Japan, all this having a robust semiconductor industry, AI technology advancements. India is only country, if India joins the Pax Silica, if India is only country from developing world. So that expectance, expectance gap from the rest of the countries with respect to India will be very high. So we don't know India will meet those standards. India will meet the expectations within the Pax Silica grouping or initiative. So that is one. And other important thing is that India, if joined Pax Silica, there is, you can't have autonomy in terms of our, global stand in the security areas. Global security areas. We have our own autonomy, strategic autonomy in terms of Ukraine and Russia, right? If India joined Pax Silica, USA will be having its own ideology. The USA will be imposing their own hegemonic attitudes toward us. So we can't tolerate that. So being within a same grouping, so if we are facing that hegemonic tendencies, we can't be more assertive about our opinions. So that is the issue with respect to India. And very important is that India having less skills with respect to provide to the grouping in terms of supply chain. We can't provide supply, all these technologies, all these critical minerals. We are still importing. So India, rather than getting benefited, it will be dependent on other countries in terms of technology, in terms of raw materials. And infrastructure and investments are in a nascent stage in India. So that is the reason. These are the challenges which are creating hurdles for India to join Pax Silica. Okay, we are having so much of but talent. We are exporting talent to the rest of the world. They are getting educated in the Western countries. They are coming back to India. If Trump imposes visa ban or restrictions on migration, they will be coming back India. They will having very important will be having very important human capital in the India, but that is not sufficient when you are not having enough infrastructure. Even India has rare earth elements mining, so we have resources, but we don't have a technology to process them like China does, right? That is the issues which are can be challenging for India to join the Pax Silica. These are the very important points. And the next article is that delimitation after 2027 and redrawing power in India. This is with respect to delimitation commission. So before discussing what are the issues mentioned in this article, and author also suggested some reforms, what are the way forward can be with respect to delimitation in 2027. But before discussing that, let us discuss very important, what is delimitation, and also what are the constitutional provisions which governs this process. Okay, one important, what is delimitation? Delimitation is nothing but adjustment, redrawing territories, constituencies in India, so there will be a allocation of seats according to the proportion of the population. That is the main idea behind delimitation. Article 81, which says that which governs the allocation of seats of the states in the House of the People, in Lok Sabha especially. Okay, House of the People, nothing but Lok Sabha. So Article 81 determines the allocation of seats. It governs the allocation of seats to the rest of the people, rest of the states. So this Article 81 says that this allocation of seats in the House of the People to the states should be according to the population. So there can be enough representation of every state in the House of the People. That is idea behind Article 81. And Article 82 says that this allocation of seats to the states should be adjusted according to the population increasing or decreasing after every census. So the census will be after 10 years, right? we are conducting census decade, but this time census is delayed, but we had actually census in every 10 years. But important is that after conducting census, there should be readjustment of the territories or the constituencies, and also allocation of seats to the states in the Lok Sabha. That is, these are the two articles, Article 81 and Article 2 governs the allocation of seats in the Lok Sabha, and Article 170 governs the allocation of seats in the state legislative assemblies. Okay, na? That is, these are the three articles which governs the delimitation process. Very importantly, Article 82, which gives the power to Parliament to decide which authority should be conducting delimitation, and also in manner which what is the process, how that particular delimitation can be conducted. These are the two things can be decided by the Parliament by enacting a law. So accordingly, after every census, Parliament will be enacting a law, and there will be a delimitation commission consisting of Supreme Court judge, Chief Election Commissioner or Election Commissioner, and State Election Commissioner of that particular state. So there will be a proper delimitation and proper allocation of seats, and also proper representation of people according to the population. So these are the ideas. But what happened? Okay, let's discuss what is okay. So background, what is the background? How many times the delimitation commission was constituted in India? The brief idea is in 1950-1951, the first delimitation was conducted by the president, not through delimitation commission. So president conducted the delimitation process in India with the help of Election Commission of India in 1950-1951. Later in 1952, we had a first delimitation commission, again in 1963 and 1973, and after that we had 2001. These are the years. 4 times we had a delimitation commission in India. But in 1970s, 1980s, there was a scarcity of food, because there was a population explosion. So government, especially Indira Gandhi led government, started to rule out some family planning programs to control the population. So there will be enough growth, there will be investments on infrastructure, robust manufacturing hubs. But the idea was that if I rule out the family planning plans, at the same time I am allocating the seats in the Lok Sabha on the basis of population, which state will implement this family planning policies, right? So idea behind was that in 1976, through 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, then Parliament frozen the allocation of seats according to the 1971 census. According to the 91 census, then since there will be no increase in the seats to any states, so the allocation of seats in the Lok Sabha should be based on 1971 census till 2001. So again in 2001, through 84th Constitutional Amendment Act, then government said that okay, we are not increasing the seats, allocation of seats in the Lok Sabha, but we are adjusting the constitution. Okay, na? We are just redrawing the boundaries, but according to the 1991 census. But later they changed their mind. Again in 2003, through 87th Constitutional Amendment Act in 2003, they again amended the constitution and said that okay, now readjustment of the boundaries, constituencies, not according to the 1991 census, but according to the 2001 census. But allocation of seats, if adjustment, reallocation of seats according to the different census shall be taken place after 2026. So this is the evolution of delimitation commission and constitutional amendments with respect to delimitation process in India. So now we are conducting census in 2026. In a year in 2027 there will be a reallocation of seats in the Lok Sabha. Now authors saying that, so especially southern states, so okay na, northern states and southern states. So southern states implemented all the family planning policies which were implemented in 1970s and 1980s. So there is a population control in southern states. Northern states, especially Bihar, UP, all these states, especially called Bimar states, okay na? All these states not implemented family planning policies. They have increased their population. Now if you are reallocating the seats according to the present population, with respect to 1.47 billion population, there will be an injustice to the southern states, because population is very less in the southern states, because fertility rate is very less because of family planning. In the northern states, fertility rate is still high. In UP, Bihar, the fertility is still above the replacement level, right? So because of that reason, so other says that he mentioned series of recommendations. Very few I'll mention, not all of them. One he says that just postpone the reallocation of seats in Lok Sabha, like what earlier leaders have done in 2003 and also 1970s. That is one. And also you can say that give weightage to other criteria, like Finance Commission does usually. Like for example, there are enough criteria like ecology, demographic control, tax performance, income distance, all these criteria. Like election commission of, Finance Commission of India follows. Like Election Commission of India can follow such criteria in terms of delimitation, right? And also you can say that increase the strength of the parliament. You can reallocate the seats, but that will be injustice. Okay now? He says that will be injustice. You can do that. There is also one of the recommendations mentioned by the author in the article. So that is, he says that just you can postpone it. So there will be a justice to all the states. So when there will be a equality in terms of fertility, equality in terms of population growth in all the states, then you can reallocate the states according to the population in the future, in the whatever date. Okay na? That is the recommendations mentioned by the author in this particular article. Hope you have any doubts. Otherwise I will go into the next article. Okay, that is. And again, this is appeared, two articles appeared with respect to India and European Union. Will upgrade ties with respect to trade deal and also strategic defense deal also. Okay, I will discuss this particular article. Combine all these. I have combined both articles. Okay, both are similar, so I will discuss as a one. So India European Union free trade agreement and security and defense partnership. So what is the importance for India? Okay, I think all of you know what is free trade agreement, right? So what is the importance of free trade agreement and security and defense partnership for India? Indian perspective, we'll talk about the Indian perspective. What will India gain from this particular free trade agreement? So very important is the European Union as a collective. If you take European Union as a collective continent, it has a vast density of population. It has a high demand. The high Indian goods and services are in high demand in the particular European continent. So we will have access to the market. That is very important and basic thing. And again, we export a lot of pharmaceutical products to the rest of the world, not only Europe. But the European standards are so much high compared to other markets globally. So if you want to export pharmaceutical products through, to gain advantage of free trade agreement. So we have to raise our standards, right? So India will be getting benefited indirectly to raise our standards with respect to pharmaceuticals. So last year one issue has happened with respect to syrup. I think so many of children had died in African continent because of one syrup though. So there were claims that Indian pharmaceutical standards were not that high. So this is opportunity for India, so they can raise their standards, pharmaceutical standards with respect to European continent. And also India has the highest IT service provider, right? So the European Union depends on Indian IT sector, so there will be more export of IT services to the European continent. And also, so very important point that European Union always try to impose non-trade barrier, right? For example, phytosanitary measures which are non-trade barrier. For example, imposing a ban on any pesticides which are used in agriculture, which are any chemicals. So stringent regulatory measures with respect to standards of food articles or any other articles. So such phytosanitary measures can be reduced to certain extent. There will be a relaxation for Indian products, so they can easily have access to the European markets. And also very important that recently one of the important one of the measures with respect to phytosanitary and other measures was that carbon border adjustment mechanism, right? So there will be 25 to 30% higher tariff on the goods which have higher carbon threshold, right? For example, India exports a lot of steel products, cement to the European Union countries. So if there is a 25 to 30% of tariff on all these goods, there will be a lesser demand in the European market. Now these thresholds means these restriction can be reduced to certain extent. We can't say that there will be, the free trade agreement is still in a nascent stage, there are the talks are going on, but there will be a reduction with respect to carbon border adjustment mechanism. So there will be a reduced tariffs on Indian goods, especially steel, aluminum, all the cement products. That is very important factor. And what is the importance for European Union? So European Union largely depended on Chinese products, Chinese goods. So which are, the Chinese goods are threatening European markets. And also European Union, it is largely dependent on the Russian gas. And also largely dependent on the USA securities. To have economic advantage in the global world. So these dependencies can be reduced with respect to European Union continent. And also European Union have advanced technologies and they have advanced manufacturing, especially automobile sector. For example, all these Audi, for example, Benz, Porsche, all these from European countries. Mercedes, right? So these automobile sectors will have a more export to the Indian subcontinent, especially India, right? So India is imposing a lot of trade barriers with respect to automobile sector, with respect to imposing high tariffs, so anti-dumping duties or any other kind of taxes, customs. So European Union countries will gain from this particular, and also very importantly, both the countries are agreeing to movement of people. 4 kinds of labors are there. So they are having talks, negotiation with respect to labor movement also. So if that happens, so European Union, all these skilled workers can be working in India, and also there will be a lot of investments European Union will made in India. So both the countries will gain from this, win-win situations for both the countries. So that are the importance. And also so they can reduce the reliance on USA, China and other markets, as I already mentioned. But what is the importance of this in a global world order? What is the importance of this particular trade deal with respect to global world order? Okay, very importantly, China is assertive in nature, Means China always wants to dominate with respect to trade. Weaponization of trade is one of the major weaponization of trade. Nowadays, weaponization of tariff is a Trump's ideology, but weaponization of trade is a weapon of China. So this assertive nature can be reduced with respect to both European Union and India. So we can have a win-win situation. Both we can work together. So we can reduce the reliance on China. And also, we also rely more on USA because we are having surplus with respect to USA trade. Right? We have one of the major exporters to the USA market. So USA in its policy is not consistent. Right? USA is always inconsistent in its trade policies or in the geopolitical policies. So this is inconsistent behavior making other countries don't have that where to export. That stability is not there. If you are imposing 100% tariff on tomorrow, if you are imposing 30% tariff next month, I am imposing 50% of tariffs on next month. So there will be no stability with respect to trade with respect to USA. So if you are having free trade agreement with European Union, there will be stability. So that stability is model for other nations. So this European free trade agreement and also security and defense deal can be model for other countries. So they can learn from what kind of benefits, what kind of geopolitical stability can be given through such agreements, free trade agreements. And also very importantly, I must do something. So this is with respect to free trade agreement of European Union and India. I think I forgot something. Don't know. Yeah, that is it. Okay, now let us discuss what are the challenges exist with respect to this particular free trade agreement. Okay, what are the challenges? What are the challenges? Okay. What are the challenges? Very important, one of the major challenges is that Russia issue. Why Russia issue? Because Russia treats, European Union collectively treats Russia as an aggressor and also consider kind of enemy. So it always had a very aggressive relationship with respect to Asia. So India always been a supporter of Russia in terms of its policy towards other countries, especially with respect to Russia-Ukraine war. So in terms of India's policy towards other nations can hinder the progress with respect to free trade agreement. And also, Indian agriculture sector, one of the major sector which we export a lot, for example, cotton, textile, all this, the cotton, textile, leather, all these things, agriculture sector. We export a lot of commodities, goods to the European market. So we don't know yet whether agricultural commodities or products will be included in the free trade agreement. Only free trade agreement can be included other products like IT services, all those things. We don't know yet. The agriculture still it's in a considered stage. Okay? So that is also very important. And also one of the other challenges is that tech transfer. What is the European Union agreed, not agreed yet with respect to tech transfer, because India relying more on made in India Make in India program. So India wants to, try to produce all the goods and services in India. So India demands, tech transfer from other countries, other European Union countries. For example, if we want to import Rafale jets from France, what are the other, any other defense related technologies. So there will be a tech transfer according to India, but I don't know. European Union is still considering about the tech transfer. The European Union said that it will be left to the private players who are providing goods and services to the India, so they can decide whether they can be providing tech transfer to India or not. These are the very few basic, and also very important and major issue is that again I already mentioned that the standards, the European Union standards are so much high, so I don't think our standards could match with those standards. There will be a issue with respect to that also, sanitary and phytosanitary issues, and also with respect to other trade barriers. These are the issues which are not addressed very well with respect to this free trade agreement. We will know that whether this particular free trade agreement will be commenced or not on 27th January. 27th January, because 26th January we have Republic Day. So on this day, both the presidents of European Union Commission and European Union Council, both the president, Antonio and I think Ursa, I think, I don't know her name. Actually, both are visiting India. So on the 26th day, so they are taking participate in our Republic Day celebration. And after that, 26th and 27th day, we have a 16th European Union and India Summit. So this day, we will get to know that whether we had a free trade agreement with respect to all these issues. Okay, that is with respect to free trade agreement and security and defense partnership with respect to European Union, India. If you have any questions, I'll address them. No, sorry for the disturbance. Actually, I am cold. Actually, my pronunciation was not that good. Thanks for understanding.
last day?